One way that we could understand and reinterpret desire in a Jungian way, if I were to be a bit more specific, in a Jungian, Kleinian, Lacanian way, because that is very much the approach that I'm taking in my recent research and work, and you will see more of that in the upcoming NI book, of course, is of a vivacious and healthy and dynamic circling of energy between your symbolic realm at the core of your unconscious, dominated by a fundamental fantasy that gives your type, your Jungian type, an I dominant, E dominant, F E dominant, and so forth, and your consciousness, the signs of your consciousness, how you operationalize your own adaptation to the external world. Someone who has a lot of desire is someone who's able to produce, if you like, to produce new actions, to adapt to the world in new ways, creatively engage with the world, love doing things in the world, on the basis of having a dynamic, densely populated and structured internal world of ciphers that can be transmuted into acts of judgment on the basis of the functions of judgment, the superego functions. Added to that is also, of course, and that's still part of desire, the ability to perceive things in the world, not just so that you can use your perception to do things, so in the sense, directly merge your perceptions into judgments, because that's the stuff of our everyday. You know, most of the stuff we do every day, we see stuff and we do stuff on the basis of what we see. So we directly transmute our perceptions into judgments. This happens mostly at the level of consciousness. Perhaps some of it drips into the subconscious, not the unconscious, the subconscious. But for the, largely this is just kind of a process of automatic adaptation to external reality, which is important. We need to be able to adapt, and part of how we adapt to the world, whether we are INFJs, INTJs, ISFPs, ESFPs, ENFJs, and so forth, is like probably something like 80 to 90% just automatic ways of perceiving and judging and doing on that basis. But we also want full lives. We also want to experience our lives as meaningful. We also want to experience our lives as surprising, as promising. We want to be able to envision great things for ourselves and the ones we love. We want to find serenity within that whole holistic realm. So it's not just about adapting, it's also about fully living. You can't fully live if you're not able to adapt. But purely adapting is, although it is a necessary condition to a full life, it is not a sufficient condition for a full life. Now, if you want to hear more about how this applies to, for example, INFJs and INTJs, stick around. Don't forget that you can support me on Patreon, guys. I'd be so grateful if you provided me with support on Patreon, donate to my channel. The first link below is to my Patreon page. You can give a few dollars or euros a month or a year, depending on what you prefer. It's really not cheap, because in return you get access to some really quality content, a whole library of deep dives that are exclusive to patrons, long format videos up to half an hour where I discuss topics that the patrons ask me to cover, like NI and dystopias, NI and magic, NI and desire. Sometimes I talk about other types as well. They go in depth, and there's a rich library of them. If you want to access it, if you can't have enough of my content, that's the Patreon page gives you access, as well as access to our Discord server. Come hang out with us, interact with me and the others there. It's a great time. Thank you so much for that. So just to continue, if you take the life of an INFJ or an INTJ, so a life dominated by NI symbolism, so the core symbol, that is the juncture between the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious, gives the substance of your more unconscious items of meaning, the ciphers, and they're going to be heavily colored by NI, and these ciphers are going to be transmuted into signs so that they can facilitate the judgments that allow you to adapt in the world. Adapting in the world without judgments is going to be very hard. Adapting in the world without the superego is very difficult. So you need that, but you can't have just that. So what you need is to also be able to let what Jung called the subliminal images to penetrate into your subconscious, travel down through your unconscious to that area close to the symbolic knot where new ciphers are created. The symbolic knot is always trying to create new ciphers. It's another way of saying that the archetypes, because the symbolic knot is an archetype, what I call the archetype of the personality, has work to do. It is busy creating new ciphers, creating new links and patterns in your unconscious that can then find new expression in your life and enlarge your life. Enlarge, for example, through transmutation, the realm of possible decisions and visions and acts and goals that you can define for yourself and enact with judgment. You can't do this without perception. More specifically, the perception of the subliminal images that you encounter in everyday reality and that you allow to penetrate your unconscious, to be metabolized into ciphers there closer to the symbolic knot. In the case of INFJs and INTJs, the NI symbolic knot. To be, in a sense, processed by introverted intuition, to then be made available again for transmutation into signs by judgments, which enlarge the realm of what you can do in life. If you want to enlarge the possibilities of your life, the possible meanings that you encounter in life, in other words, achieve real fullness of life, you need to take in external reality those subliminal images. Not just the conscious perceptions that you notice something and you do something on that basis. That's more automatic. But in every event, in everything that you do, you're not going to be conscious of it because it sort of like flickers through your consciousness and then straight gets absorbed into the subconscious and then into the unconscious, the subliminal images. They're at work and they're going to put your archetype to work. And your archetype is going to produce more ciphers. It's going to enrich your NI world with more patterns, and these patterns will then, if you like, free up more space in your unconscious for transmutation into your conscious realm and enlarge your life by the same token. So someone who comes to me and says, I don't really derive any benefit from engaging with people in the external world, I'm like, a lot of the benefit is not even conscious. It's very fleetingly conscious and it's disappeared before you even notice. That's the subliminal images. And yet it is absolutely fundamental to the health of your unconscious and ultimately to the fullness of your conscious life. Okay, guys, thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget about my 2 books on the INFJ, where I touch on these topics and many more. The Ecstatic Soul, which is the book with the orange cover, is all about the inner mind of the INFJ, its thoughts, belief, consciousness, the structure of the INFJ mind. The sequel, The Infinite Soul, is more about INFJ life in the modern world and how to find purpose, meaning, and value in a world that we often find hostile. If I kind of do this, it becomes much more easy to see. So these 2 books are pretty essential for any understanding of the INFJ personality. They are linked below, so do read them if you want a deep understanding of this type, and wait until next year for the release of my book that will be really focused on NI, and I'm happy to say and predict the deepest work on the NI function that will be available anywhere. Okay, guys, see you tomorrow. Thank you again.